I was a kid who loved fabric, and I love colors, but I really love fabric. I can remember back then there were actual fabric stores, and when I lived on Nantucket, we had a fabric store right in our downtown on the second floor of what's now the Hub, if you ever go to Nantucket. And up I would go, and I just loved being there. And the thing is that's interesting to me to think about now weaving is that I love fabric and I wanted to make clothing, but it never occurred to me that I could actually make fabric, which is what weaving does. There was a woman with a weaving studio across the street from us on Nantucket, on Orange Street. And in fact, she's still there. And I used to go into her studio as a little girl, and it was really emotional for me, but for reasons I couldn't explain. There was something about the sound of the loom. It was reaching like a deep, ancient part of myself. By the time I was a teenager, I just wanted to make my own clothes. And so I asked my mother for a sewing machine. I can remember that was kind of a big deal. It was really expensive for our family back then. And that's what I wanted, so that I could make the things I wanted to wear. And I loved clothing. That was one thing I can remember my mother and I just enjoying looking at clothing catalogs. This is, of course, before the internet. I loved it so much. I loved color. I loved design. But I didn't think of myself as particularly fashionable. In fact, I was very old fashionable. And as you can tell, I'm still pretty old fashionable. And I don't know, a little funky. A little different than the others. What I like to say is I'm a divine original and so are you. And what I'm weaving are divine originals because I never weave with a pattern. I never weave with a preconceived notion. This is weaving in the style of Saori, which is just a really beautiful weaving philosophy started by Misao Jo in Japan more than half a century ago. She was 57 years old. Anyway, there are many people who do art weaving, freeform weaving, freestyle weaving, or intuitive weaving. And I'm weaving now a piece for myself, and that means in more traditional weaving, you would have a set pattern, you'd set up your warp with that set pattern, and then you just shoot the shuttle back and forth, moving the treadles, moving your feet, and following the pattern. Maybe it's a plaid, for example, or something else more intricate. In this kind of free form, freestyle weaving, you're listening. Keep in mind that I have been a minister, was ordained more than 20 years ago. So for me, it's spiritual practice, and I'm always weaving the sacred.